Do you realize the power you hold? The undeniable presence you carry? The kind that makes those who once wronged you shrink in discomfort, their own actions replaying in their minds like a film they can't pause. You are a force of resilience, a living testament to strength, integrity, and unwavering dignity. Every step you take forward is a reminder that their past actions did not break you. Instead, they refined you, made you stronger, and set you apart. This is not just about their shame, it's about your triumph. They look at you and see what they failed to be: steady, unshaken, and unapologetically whole. They flinch, not because you seek revenge, but because your very existence holds up a mirror they can no longer avoid. Every time they cross your path, they are confronted by a truth they tried to ignore. You have risen, you have thrived, and you owe them nothing. So walk tall, own your space. Know that your presence alone is enough to make an impact. You are not just someone who endured, you are someone who conquered. And that is power. For nothing is hidden that will not be made manifest, nor is anything secret that will not be known and come to light. Luke 8:17. There comes a time when the truth, no matter how deeply buried, rises like the sun at dawn, undeniable, piercing, and illuminating every shadow. Imagine a storm rolling through the desert, stirring up the dust of past deeds, exposing what was hidden beneath the surface. Those who once walked with confidence, believing their actions were buried beneath time and silence, now feel the shifting winds of consequence. Their past does not lie dormant, it lingers, waiting for the appointed moment when it will demand acknowledgement. This is your moment. Hit subscribe now and step into something greater. Don't miss out. Guilt becomes a chain wrapped around them, each link forged by the choices they made in secret. It weighs on their shoulders, pressing down in the quiet moments when they think no one is watching. The friend who once whispered against you now feels their words circling back, not as echoes, but as a reckoning that follows them into every room. The co-worker who twisted the truth to gain an advantage finds themselves uneasy in meetings, uncertain if others see them for what they truly are. The one who sowed discord watches as the walls they built around their deception begin to crumble, brick by brick, under the weight of their own unease. They move differently now, hesitant where they once strode with boldness. They avoid eye contact, not because they lack the ability, but because they fear what they will see staring back at them, the reflection of their own betrayal. The fear of being exposed isn't just about others finding out the truth. It's about facing the undeniable reality of who they have become. Every space they enter is a courtroom of their own making. The conversations they dodge, the invitations they decline, the silences that stretch too long. These are not coincidences, but consequences. Their soul wrestles with the weight of what they did, the choices they justified, the lines they crossed. They once believed they could outrun conviction, that time would dull the sharp edge of their actions. But conviction is relentless. It does not tire, it does not fade, and it does not negotiate. There is no peace in pretense. They may wear the same mask, speak the same words, play the same roles, but beneath it all, they are haunted by what they tried to ignore. The weight of their own deception presses against their chest like a dam holding back a flood. But the dam has cracks, and the water will rise. Because the truth is this: when you stand in integrity, when you hold your ground, when you walk in light, you don't have to chase justice. You don't have to expose them. Their own conscience is already doing the work. The weight they carry is not yours to bear. You were never meant to be burdened by their guilt. You are free. You have already moved forward, already risen above, already been strengthened through it all. While they wrestle in the darkness of their own making, you are walking in the light of divine favor. You don't need to look back. You were chosen to move ahead. And that, my friend, is why your presence alone is enough to shake them. Every encounter is a mirror reflecting their choices, their conscience playing the role of both prosecutor and judge. The weight of awareness presses upon them, turning whispers into roaring condemnation. Their own mind constructs a labyrinth of paranoia, making escape impossible. A force beyond them, unseen yet undeniable, amplifies their discomfort, an unrelenting tide that erodes their sense of control. The presence of those they wronged stands as an unshakable monument to their past actions, casting long, unmerciful shadows over their attempts at normalcy. Shame morphs into an inescapable prison, a fortress built with the very choices they once believed would serve them. They fear the silent verdict that looms over every interaction, an unseen yet deafening judgment that echoes in the spaces between words. Every moment in proximity to the truth becomes an unbearable reckoning, a weight they cannot set down. The fear itself is the sentence, a cycle with no end, an invisible but unbreakable chain binding them to the past. Pride goes before destruction, and a haughty spirit before a fall. Proverbs 16:18. There's something about a fall from grace that shakes a person to their core. It's like standing on a mountain, believing yourself untouchable, only to realize the ground beneath you was never solid. The higher the pedestal, the harder the fall. Those who once walked with an air of self-importance, who spoke as if their words were law, now find themselves stumbling over the very reputation they thought was unshakable. They built their confidence on sand, and now the tide has come to wash it away. Losing respect isn't like losing a possession. It's not something that can simply be replaced. It's like trying to catch smoke with bare hands. Once it's gone, it slips through their fingers, leaving behind nothing but regret and the weight of what they can't undo. They feel it in the shift of every conversation, in the glances that no longer hold admiration, in the silence where validation used to be. The weight of their choices presses down like a heavy cloak they can't remove. The family member who once dismissed you now stirs their coffee a little too long, avoiding the conversation they know they should have. The co-worker who undermined you now hesitates before speaking, their once unwavering tone cracked by the realization that their influence has faded. The friend who took your kindness for granted now watches from a distance, aware that the bridge they thought would always be there has burned to ashes. This is your moment. Hit subscribe now and step into something greater. Don't miss out. There is no greater torment than realizing you are no longer held in high regard. It is a slow, sinking feeling, a hollow ache that reminds them they are no longer who they once were in the eyes of others. They used to walk into a room expecting recognition, but now all they find is avoidance and quiet indifference. They didn't just lose favor, they lost the privilege of being seen as trustworthy, as honorable, as worthy of respect. Every moment in your presence serves as a reminder of what they lost. Your confidence, your integrity, your ability to move forward while they remain trapped in their own regrets. It all speaks louder than words ever could. They can feel it, they can see it, and they know deep down it is a weight they must carry alone. But here's the truth. This was never your burden to bear. You are not responsible for their shame. You are not obligated to fix what they broke. You don't need to soften your light to make them more comfortable in their darkness. Your path is forward. Your journey is blessed. And no amount of their regret can take away the favor that is upon your life. So stand tall. Keep walking in your truth. The weight they feel is theirs to carry, not yours. Every interaction becomes a confrontation with their own shortcomings, a cruel reminder that the foundation of trust and esteem they once stood on has turned to dust beneath their feet. Their loss of respect is not just an external shift, it is an internal collapse, a slow, grinding erosion of the self. They no longer move through spaces with the assurance they once carried, but instead hesitate, unsure of how they are perceived, aware that their past choices have reshaped the way others see them. It is a torment that does not need words to exist. It is the glance that lingers too long, the silence where warmth once was, the distance that cannot be bridged. The realization is like standing on the edge of a vast chasm, seeing the other side, but knowing they can never reach it again. The past cannot be rewritten, and the weight of their decisions presses down like an unrelenting storm, reshaping their place in the world. No longer held in high regard, they are trapped in the echoes of what once was, haunted by the respect they squandered. For there is nothing covered that shall not be revealed, neither hid that shall not be known. Luke 12:2. A mask can only last for so long before it begins to crack. A false foundation may stand for a season, but eventually the storm comes, and when it does, it washes away every illusion, leaving only the truth behind. That's the weight of exposure. It doesn't just peel back the surface, it strips away every layer, revealing what was always there. Those who once thought they could hide their intentions now find themselves standing in the harsh light of truth, defenseless against what can no longer be denied. It's like an actor who believed they had control of the script, only to realize the play was never theirs to direct. They wove deception into their words, spun manipulation into their actions, and thought they had secured their own version of reality. But the truth is relentless. It does not negotiate. It does not compromise. And when the curtain falls, there is no more hiding. They feel it now, that creeping awareness, that tightening in their chest. The very things they once did in secret now feel like chains they can't shake loose. The friend who maneuvered conversations to their advantage now fumbles over their words, aware that the veil has lifted. The co-worker who schemed behind closed doors now avoids your presence, knowing that the lies they once spoke now carry no weight. The relative who once manipulated situations to paint themselves as righteous now sits in silence, confronted by the evidence that speaks louder than their excuses ever could. Every encounter with you is a trial of their own making. They may try to pretend nothing has changed, but inside, they are unsettled. They sense that the power they once thought they held has slipped through their fingers. And now, they are left with the consequences, the burning awareness that their mask is gone, and they cannot reclaim it. Deception always demands a price. At first, it looks like a shortcut, a way to gain control. But in the end, it's a trap, a weight that only grows heavier, a snare that tightens with every passing moment. And now, they are caught in it, tangled in the very web they once spun. But here's the truth. You don't have to carry their guilt, their regret, or their shame. That's not your burden to bear. You were never meant to hold on to their discomfort. It is a consequence of their own choices, and they must face it on their own. Your presence alone is enough to remind them of the truth, and that is a power you do not even have to speak to wield. This is your moment. Hit subscribe now and step into something greater. Don't miss out. Walk in that truth. Stand firm in your integrity. You are not defined by their deception, and you will not be bound by their discomfort. What was meant to break you has only made you stronger. The light that reveals their deception is the same light that continues to guide your path forward. And that, my friend, is a power that cannot be taken away. Every interaction is now steeped in discomfort. The colleague who once plotted behind the scenes now stumbles over their words, their usual confidence giving way to a nervous hesitance. The acquaintance who twisted the truth for their own advantage now finds their presence a source of unbearable tension, the air between them thick with unspoken awareness. Each glance, each exchange is a silent confirmation that the mask has slipped, and there is no hiding from the reality that has come to light. There is no greater defeat than the forced acknowledgement of one's own manipulation. It is a crushing weight that follows them wherever they go, a reminder that their intentions are no longer a secret whispered in the dark, but an undeniable reality that stands in the open. The security they once found in their falsehoods has crumbled, leaving them exposed beneath the glaring truth. The world they built on misdirection and half-truths no longer provides shelter. What was once an intricate game now feels like an endless stage where the spotlight never dims. They move through life haunted by the knowledge that they have been seen, not as they pretended to be, but as they truly are. The illusion has shattered, and there is no escape from the piercing gaze that reflects their unveiled reality back at them. Regret is an unrelenting weight, pressing down with an intensity that cannot be ignored. When a person is confronted with the irreversible nature of their choices, the burden of what they have done becomes inescapable. The past cannot be rewritten, and the consequences they once dismissed now stand before them as an ever-present specter. Every time they see you, they are forced to acknowledge the rift they created, the silent reminder of their own moral failing. There is no greater torment than realizing that the damage has been done, and that no apology, no act of atonement can fully undo it. The one who once cast careless words into the wind now feels the sharp sting of their own cruelty, their regret a chain wrapped tightly around them. The individual who once took from you, whether trust, time, or dignity, now falters under the weight of their own remorse, unable to move with the same ease as before. Their guilt is a force that robs them of their composure, turning once familiar interactions into painful reckonings. The heaviness of regret settles into the spaces they once filled with certainty. It gnaws at them in the quiet moments, whispering reminders of what could have been different. It strips away the illusions they once clung to, leaving them raw, exposed, and powerless against the relentless truth of their own choices. This is your moment. Hit subscribe now and step into something greater. Don't miss out. They are no longer who they once were, yet they cannot yet become something new. Trapped in the in-between, they carry the weight of every action they wish they could take back, every word they long to erase. The discomfort they feel is not just a fleeting emotion. It is a deep, consuming force, an ache that cannot be ignored. And in your presence, this truth is undeniable. But be doers of the word, and not hearers only, deceiving yourselves. James 1:22. There's nothing more devastating than looking in the mirror and realizing the person staring back isn't who you thought you were. It's like a house built on sand, standing tall in the sunshine, looking strong for the world to see. But the moment the storm rolls in, the foundation gives way, and everything comes crashing down. That's what happens when someone builds their identity on illusion, on pride, on a false sense of righteousness. It may hold for a season, but eventually the truth comes knocking, and when it does, there's nowhere left to hide. It's a slow unraveling, thread by thread. The friend who once thought themselves noble now sits in the quiet, realizing that their betrayal wasn't just a mistake. It was a reflection of who they had become. The leader who built their confidence on admiration now feels the weight of disapproval, their authority no longer unquestioned. The relative who once prided themselves on wisdom now sees that their words were hollow, their advice tainted by self-interest. What they once held up as virtue has now been exposed for what it truly was: self-deception wrapped in the illusion of integrity. They feel it deep in their bones, the crumbling of the image they worked so hard to maintain. The realization that the person they presented to the world was never as strong, as righteous, or as untouchable as they once believed. It's like a tower of cards, each one representing the validation they sought, the lies they told themselves, the justifications they made. And one by one, those cards collapse, until all that's left is the undeniable truth. They were never who they claimed to be. And now, every interaction is a reminder. They see you, unshaken, unwavering, standing firm in the identity they once dismissed. They watch as you walk in confidence, in clarity, in truth, while they struggle under the weight of their own disillusionment. It's not that you've done anything to expose them. Your very presence is enough. Your integrity is a mirror they can't turn away from, a reflection they no longer recognize in themselves. They thought they were the strong ones, the righteous ones, the ones in control. But now they sit in the wreckage of their own making, faced with a truth they can't outrun. And in that moment, they realize they were never as untouchable as they believed. But hear this, you don't have to carry their downfall. Their self-image was never your responsibility. You were never meant to hold on to their guilt, their shame, their struggle to reconcile who they are with who they thought they were. That battle is theirs to fight, not yours. You keep walking. You keep standing. You keep moving forward, unshaken by the storms that took them down. Because your foundation was never built on illusion. It was built on truth, and truth does not crumble. The realization hits like a cold, unrelenting wave. The friend who once dismissed others to elevate themselves now wrestles with the shame of seeing their own insecurity exposed. The co-worker who thrived on belittling others to feel powerful now stammers through interactions, the confidence they once wielded slipping through their fingers like sand. The family member who sought validation at another's expense now navigates gatherings with unsteady steps, the foundation of their self-worth shattered beyond repair. Every encounter serves as a reminder of the facade they no longer have the luxury of believing. The sense of self they once clung to so fiercely is now nothing more than a fragile illusion, scattered and broken. They stand amidst the wreckage of their own deception, stripped of the comfort of ignorance, forced to acknowledge the emptiness behind the image they once protected. There is no armor strong enough to shield them from the weight of truth. It follows them like an unshakable shadow, whispering of the mistakes they can never undo. Their identity, once steadfast and unquestioned, now feels unfamiliar, a hollow echo of what once was. The mirror does not lie, and in it, they see not who they wish to be, but the undeniable reality of what they have become. The reckoning is silent but absolute, and in its wake, nothing remains untouched. Regret is never louder than when one realizes the doors they left unopened, the bridges they failed to build, and the moments they allowed to slip away. There is an unshakable weight that settles in when the understanding dawns. Every choice to dismiss, every opportunity ignored, every connection left untended now forms an unalterable past. The distance they feel is not just physical. It is the vast chasm of what could have been, stretching between them and what is now lost. The recognition is bitter. The one who once turned away when support was needed now sits in the stillness of their own inaction, confronted with the realization that their silence spoke louder than words. The former ally, who once dismissed collaboration, now watches from the sidelines, aware that the success they could have been part of is unfolding without them. The family member, who chose apathy over encouragement, now struggles to find the right words, knowing the bond that could have been nurtured has withered into something irretrievably distant. There is no undoing what has passed. Every interaction serves as a cruel reminder of the space they failed to fill, the trust they did not foster, the relationships that could have flourished but instead faded into a landscape of lost chances. The weight of missed opportunities is not just regret, it is a lingering specter, whispering of a reality that was within reach but never grasped. What remains is the ache of absence. The echoes of paths never taken grow louder in the silence, turning their own thoughts into a merciless reflection of what might have been. The realization is a slow unraveling, an unrelenting awareness that time does not offer second chances, only the relentless march forward. They cannot change what has already passed, but the knowledge of what they failed to seize follows them, a presence they cannot escape, a truth they can never forget. The reactions of those who struggle in your presence speak volumes, not about your shortcomings, but about the strength you exude and the truth you represent. Their discomfort is not a reflection of your actions, but of their own reckoning with the weight of their choices. You stand firm, unmoved by the shadows of their regret, while they wrestle with the consequences of what they once did or failed to do. The tension in their voice, the hesitation in their steps, the avoidance in their gaze, all of it is an unspoken admission of the impact you have made. You are not bound by their failures or their remorse. Every encounter is a testament to your resilience, a reminder of the integrity that has carried you forward. Where they see reminders of what they lost, you see proof of how far you have come. You are not defined by their regret, nor are you tethered to the weight of their missteps. Your journey is yours alone, one of persistence, growth, and unwavering determination. Let the past remain where it belongs. Keep pressing on. Keep embracing every opportunity for strength and renewal. You are a force of perseverance, an example of what it means to rise beyond the trials that sought to hold you back. Never diminish the significance of your presence or the power of your truth. Stand tall in the knowledge that your path is one of purpose and transformation. The road ahead is yours to conquer, filled with lessons, victories, and new beginnings waiting to unfold. Keep going. Your story is far from over. This is your moment. Hit subscribe now and step into something greater. Don't miss out.